Welcome everybody. Happy to have you. Robbie, welcome Robbie. Nice to see your picture there. There you are. Fellow musician. Claudia, welcome. And Sam, welcome.
Hi.
Sarah, I finally get to meet you. I've heard about you so much, and I finally officially get to see your picture.
Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. Welcome to the call. So yeah, this is great. So we're going to be having our first course that we're giving, our first free course as a part of our school community. The intention of this course is that we can achieve hopefully two things. One is that we can access more presence, and kind of when you hear that, are you present? Does anybody ever, are you present? Yeah, I'm present. If we can kind of really look and see what it feels like to get yourself present. And then the second thing that we're going to be aiming for is to be able to see our thinking and where we're coming from. There's more to this. This is just the first course that we're giving, and we're going to give more applications and things like that in the future, and what we can do about where we're coming from in our thinking. But during this first course, what we'd like to do is just really get aware of where we're coming from in our thinking, and see if by the end of the course we can open up an access to coming from a thinking that isn't purely coming from all the decisions and agreements and the things that we've made up. So far so good. All right, so the first slide, if you'll open up, we'll go back and forth. I love to see everybody's faces and expressions, but we'll go back and forth to sharing the screen. This first slide here, this is really what we're about here, is transforming the way we think. I use the word now, we use law of attraction as it's more familiar, people are more familiar to it. And hopefully during the course, what we can do is we can look at thinking, not just creating kind of from like affirmations or thinking positive or something like that, but really being able to see not just thinking that is new and creating something new, but looking at the energy of what we just discussed right now, of the thinking that we already have, and see what we can do to clear that up. Okay, so go ahead and go to the next slide, and then the next slide. The first thing that we'd like to share during the course that we're giving right now is to really get that we are energetic beings, and that we're connected to everything through energy. And also, to give you a little bit of background in taking this course, we're not going to talk about spiritual. I'm not talking about spiritual. I'm not talking about God, or I'm not talking about politics. We want to make sure that this is a very inclusive course where everybody can participate. And we're going to do our best to really come from information that is scientific and proven to be true. So there's a lot of things pointing to this component of energy. Even in quantum physics, if we talk about a photon in a chamber, that photon, when you're observing it through probability, pretty much appears right where it's supposed to be. But when you're not observing it, and you can Google this, study it a little bit later on, when you're not observing it, it's connected through waves of energy. And it's really appearing everywhere in that chamber through the waves of energy. So the energy that we put out, it comes back to us. And there's many references to this. If you turn to the next slide, one of them is Isaac Newton: for every action in nature, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Very powerful. You put something out, you cut somebody off on the freeway, and then you miss your off ramp. It's just like, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and it seems to just permeate into more things not working. Napoleon Hill, thoughts are powerful things. Thoughts are powerful things, very powerful things. And the way that we think is generating our reality. William James, what we choose to attend to is our reality. The next slide. And this is one that's difficult. Well, I don't want to say it's difficult, but it may be a little bit complicated to understand. And this is what we're going to get today. Until we bring our consciousness to our unconsciousness, it controls you, and you'll call it fate. This is what we're going to be practicing for the next hour and a half, is really seeing ourselves, being able to see our thoughts. To be able to see the movie rather than being the number one drama character in the movie, to be able to start to see how we're thinking and where we're coming from in our thinking. Are you with me so far? Any questions? Welcome, Uma. No questions on that?
Maybe a comment, Kevin?
Sure.
Kind of a question. I mean, a little bit. sounds like, people have said this different ways. Always keeping a part of your awareness or attention on observing.
Right. I love that. Anybody else call it something else? Anybody else have a different
And
concept?
observing your thoughts, like you say.
Okay,
Yeah.
observing your thoughts, being with your thoughts rather than being your thoughts.
I like to say, talk to myself instead of listen to myself.
Okay, all right. I like that. Now, there's this guy that gave a course, I think his first name is Alexander Swan, and he said that we are affected by up to 200 different biases. And Robbie, you said it. Robbie said the imposter syndrome. Very good one.
Oh, yeah.
We're always talking ourselves out of things because of these biases, up to 200 of them. Can you believe it? Sunk cost fallacy. I got to make this relationship work no matter what, because I've been in it for so long, whatever it is, right? Or I put so much money into this, right? So we have all these different biases, and until we start to see those biases, they continue to control us. They continue to affect us. So one thing that I oftentimes hear is people saying things like, I'm being positive, I'm being negative, I'm doing positive affirmations, I'm doing this new thing, but it's not working. And I think that with regards to the law of attraction, it's kind of a similar kind of takeaway. I practice the law of attraction. I'm putting out that I'm going to have many girlfriends, but it's not happening. And we'd like to now go deeper into not just what we're doing superficially to create it happening, but what we're doing to really see this board information that is filled up so we can't put anything else there. How did you describe that the other day, Ashok? That was a great explanation.
So we can think of the mind like a whiteboard. Imagine this whiteboard is covered in writing. This writing is all of your ideas, your beliefs, your biases. And so when you try to apply affirmations, just imagine writing over the pre-existing writing. You can imagine that this becomes a muddled mess. Instead of clearing the whiteboard first, you just apply these affirmations over the pre-existing ideas. It's not going to be very effective. Whereas instead, what we're practicing here is, how can we clear that whiteboard first? How can we observe and become aware of the existing ideas, inquire or put them into inquiry, and then as we observe, become aware, those ideas can start to fade. Those ideas can start to hold less weight. We can start to clear the whiteboard. And at this point, when you apply affirmations, they can actually make a change in your life, because you're creating from a blank canvas.
So clearing the board so that we can put new possibilities on that board. So let's look at this now. Let's just look at the way we think. Let's go ahead and dive into this. Any questions so far? So far, so good. Turn to the next slide, Ashok. Okay, so yeah, let's do this first. Let's do this first before we even go into looking at our thinking. Let's go ahead and do this first. I'd like to just kind of go through the group of people real quick and just see where you stand, what you do to get yourself present. I'd like everybody to just share very quickly, what you do to get yourself present. Go ahead and let's go through the room. And you can say 2 or 3 things real quick that you do to get present.
I'll just like exhale, like kind of way too much. If I'm like stressed out about something, I just like really push it, maybe even like 30 seconds or something.
Okay.
I use breathing.
I love that. I think a lot of us use that go through. How about you, Claudia? Go to.
Like I usually use my 5 senses. So whether focusing on something or tasting something or really focusing on seeing something.
Okay. Right. I love that. Very good. You got that 5 senses, like, oh, what does my breakfast taste like in my mouth, even though I ate it an hour ago? How does this chair feel like underneath my rear end right now? What does that picture look like on the wall? How bright is it? How hot is it in this room? That's a really good one. Anybody else?
I've told you this before, Kevin, what works well for me, and I have a few different things like deep breathing, but I heard it explained to me once that if you get out of the frontal lobe of your brain where all the thinking is done, and I transform my thoughts to the back of my brain, it's almost like I'm pushing a reset button. My eyes feel like they sink further into my head, and
Okay.
Everything is clear and it's hard to describe, but it works for me and it gets me to that place to be present.
Awesome. Awesome. Love it. Sam?
Well, I'm kind of new to the group, so I'm still just sort of trying to settle in.
You're going to plead the fifth. August?
Breathe a lot. You know,
Breathing. Yeah, that's my
breathing.
go-to.
And
Okay.
breathing helps a lot. Yes. And just like breathe in, breathe out, like going, okay, it'll be okay.
All right. And you don't even need to tell yourself. It's almost like breathe in, breathe out, and get the nothing. Get the nothing. Get the nothing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I love it.
Yeah.
So I could jump in again. There's a lot going on around me right now. Electricians are taking our breaker panel out and housekeepers coming. So there's a lot of activity swirling around me. And it is my first, but I can say for myself, what I do is I say a prayer. I just
Okay.
sit down and do my prayer to God and just sort of focus and
Okay.
ground myself that way.
All
And then
right.
I take about whatever I'm going to do.
Okay. Awesome. How about you, Winnie Lee?
I do a lot more breathing after start working more with you. And if nothing worked, then I go to sleep.
Okay. I love it. Annie, what do you do for presents?
For me, I think it's slowing down, just in my life in general, slowing down, giving myself a little bit more time each and every day so that I'm able to get more present and not just have so many things in my mind. And also I noticed I've been enjoying just sitting on my hikes in the morning and just looking at the sun and just being quiet for 10 minutes with my eyes closed. And when I open them, I just feel a lot more present.
Awesome. Love it. Kiritika.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
So I do walking, also stretching, especially like I'll just stop in the middle of my work day. If it's been very stressful, I stop and I stretch and I really like try to feel my muscles when I'm stretching them. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
been helping. Yeah.
Awesome. Uma.
Yeah, the breathing, just a lot of exhalations, and then music is something relaxes me. So I just
Okay.
put some soothing music
Okay.
and just slow down, being mindful. So yeah.
Okay. I love it. Thank you. Sarah.
I think like a lot of people have said, I like to try and bring myself into my body. So I practice, can I feel my right hand? Can I feel my left hand?
Wow.
Can I feel both of my hands?
Yeah.
And then, similar to kind of identifying things sensorily, I like to think about 2 or 3 things that I'm grateful for in the immediate moment.
Okay. Oh, okay. Great. So the body scan and getting present with what you're enjoying in the moment and grateful for. That's great. Wow. Awesome. Jeff.
For me, yeah, it's the whole arsenal, I would say, of what everybody said. I've used most of them in different ways. Breathing, of course, is fundamental for me. I do from time to time yoga nidra. That seems to also help. So I would add that into the tool chest as something, the body scan kind of thing.
Okay. Awesome. I love it. April.
Crocheting really helps me get present.
But April, you do the breathing too.
I do, but also like the working with my hands helps me be present. And
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I love it. Thank you. Who else? Ashok, I don't think you shared, did I?
No, yeah, I think a lot of people mentioned, but maybe I'll add to some of them. One, I love Winnie Lee, you mentioned sleeping. I think midday naps, or as they call them, siestas here in Spain, really help clear that whiteboard, if you will. And then also I like to add to the idea of slowing down. I do this sometimes where to slow down, I will say out loud everything I'm doing. So, for example, if I'm laying down, I'll say, I'm getting out of bed, left foot first. I'm standing up now. I'm walking to the bathroom, right foot. And I'll say that. And it's just by doing that, everything slows down and it kind of centers me.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that, you can do whatever you want in your breathing exercise. I don't want to put the way I do it into anybody else's. The way I do my breathing exercise is breathing in, getting present with the breath, and breathing out and breathing in. It's really, for me, the go-to is breathing. And I like to stick, I don't know, in there, because I find sometimes it's just so easy to be breathing in and out, and I'm not really escaping from my thoughts, and it's still like blah, 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 blah. But to just really be, okay, I don't know. Everything. Let me just have that relationship with everything. I don't know. Or let me have that relationship with nothing. I don't know. And that's a really powerful go-to to me. Now, one thing I'd like to share here, though, is not to just have one go-to. And the work that we're going to be doing, and we continue to move forward, is to increase the present moments of when you're not putting meaning into things, and to start to experience a relationship with that no meaning. When I was a kid and my mom used to come to pick us up, I didn't have a beeper or a phone, but we knew when mom would show up, we would feel it. It's just a natural knowing. Any of you have access to that natural knowing?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. What does it look like, August?
You do have the natural. I mean, in my circumstances, from my past, it's learning to read people. I'm learning to read people. You know, because the negative things that happened in the past, I'm able to, just read. I can read people pretty good.
Now, do you read them from your thinking, or do you read them from a feeling?
A little of both. I work on more and more, and I love what you said. About the stream.
Yeah.
And off at the bank of the stream, just watching is that a thought or that emotion?
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And that helps a lot.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, April.
I have a spidey sense for danger.
Okay.
And like people who like predatory men.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it comes in also to like protect other people. I can see it in other people's situations.
Not too long ago, we were buying a car, and I was on a Zoom call with my wife and my daughter while they were with the finance manager. And all of a sudden he came out and he started saying all these things that I couldn't understand. I just knew that the price was a lot more than I had calculated. And I started to think about what he was saying. And instead of thinking about what he was saying, it just didn't feel right. His energy came across strange. And I just told my wife, I said, honey, just get up and walk out of the room. Just leave. Before she could get out of the room, all the numbers that I had calculated were worked out, and we closed the deal. And I was like, there would have been a time I would have sat and argued, and I would have been like, wait a minute, let me show you the numbers, and got in a conversation. But instead, I just felt it. Anybody have that experience? Robbie?
I'm trying to think. I don't know if anything specific comes to mind, but there's definitely certain moments where, I guess, maybe more so the whole, you think about someone and they call you type of thing.
Perfect example. Exactly. That's a great one. You're just thinking about them, and you don't even need to call them. You just think about them and then they call you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very good one. Very good one. Okay. Well, let's do this. Let's do a little practice now together. Okay. I'm going to introduce this, and later I'm going to have you guys do it also. We're going to all do it together, but first I'm going to do it with you. I'm just going to say something, and I'm going to ask you what you thought when I said it. Okay. I just want to hear how you hear me. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, you know what? Let's see, what am I going to talk about? Politics don't really matter. You just got to be peaceful, and don't get so angry about what you see when you watch stuff on politics. Now, I don't want to go into the big story, but I just like to ask each one of you, what did I just say? How did you hear it? Let's go ahead and start with Sarah.
I heard be peaceful as the main message.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, you actually heard me talking rather than your mind saying what I was saying.
Well, you prepared us. catch us off guard next time.
Yeah. And this is not going to be really fair because Sarah said the same thing I was going to say, just like I did before, that she was going to say the same thing.
We practiced these principles together quite frequently.
Okay. All right. Great. I love it. Okay. Richard?
Okay. So I took it to the next step and said, just stay away from politics and don't pay attention to any of that.
That is a good one. We're going to do that in a future course. We've already discussed that subject, right?
Okay, great.
Because once you're avoiding, you're still in the resistance. What we want to do is we want to step above the avoiding.
I see.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's a good starting point. But we'll talk about that later. Step above it where it's not personal, where you're just like, yeah, but that's another, we're not there yet. Claudia.
I heard the same thing, Sarah. It stuck to me about to be peaceful and not like take sides, or just be peaceful.
Okay, now somebody there, as soon as I said that, was like, no, they're very important. Come on, somebody thought
I
that.
did.
Okay, who said I did?
Me. So
Okay,
actually,
great.
what I'll share is I didn't. What I heard, I'll just share my thoughts as you shared that, which was, I agree, but many people, my parents, my family, are probably going to disagree.
Okay.
Because they've always told me that I don't watch the news enough.
Yeah.
And those are the thoughts that came up.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So and we're gonna do this together now. We're gonna do a roasting here. But the issue here is to get that you're not really thinking. I mean, no, excuse me, that you're not really listening. To get that you're not really listening to me, you're listening to yourself about what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's clear.
Okay, so you're not really listening to me. You're listening to what I'm saying and you're thinking about it.
Yes.
Very important distinction. I'm married, right? And when I first got married, I thought that I was supposed to solve my wife's problems when she had a hard day. I just had to tell her, this is all you have to do. That did not work, and it didn't help my romantic life either. But when she would share, I got that she didn't want me to fix her problems. She just wanted me to listen without even agreeing or disagreeing. Even when I told her, you know, that really sucks and that person's a real jerk, it didn't have the same effect as just saying, wow, I get that you had a tough day. She just wanted me to get her experience.
And so now you just say, mm-hmm.
Right, to get, and don't agree and if I could really listen without listening to myself about my decision, it made all the difference.
Yeah.
Rob, you came on the screen. Did you have something to say on that?
Oh no, I just wanted to agree that it's yeah, it was definitely not a situation of listening, but just kind of letting your own thoughts run wild. Because when you were saying that, I had some crazy thing. I'm like seeing contrast lately because you're like saying, so, oh, you know, you don't want to get too much into politics. It's not great. So I had some really weird vision pop up for no reason where I just like on screen is like the visuals of like, I don't know, like bombs and people dying and it's like this really calm music and someone saying, you know, you never really have to matter too much about politics. You know, it's fine.
Very powerful, and very good distinction, showing how we're coming from our own space of the way we see things. Really, you know, to get this. So how do we listen? And so when I finally got it with my wife better, I mean, she'll still say I'm a work in progress, I'm sure, after 30 years. But as I've been in that, increasing my ability to listen, what I've discovered is people love having people in their life that can just listen presently, not to how to fix them, what's wrong and right, but just being with them in a space of not necessarily agreeing or disagreeing, but just being detached enough that you're really getting the person's experience. So let's see if we can do that now together. I'd like to just let's do it with each one of you. You share, go ahead and open up the slide. This is the exercise that we're going to do as a group. Okay, so what we're going to do is, usually what we do is we break up, but since we're not, because we're preparing this as a webinar, we'd like to have you do it as a group. We'll just do it as a group. We'll just start to each one of us, we'll just share what we think about the weather. And then the people that are observing can just say what they feel when they shared their points of view on the weather. Let's just do this. And the goal here is to watch yourself having thoughts about the person talking, just to build that new hardwire of seeing that you're just thinking without really listening to the person. Shall we try that together?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so Winnie Lee, what do you think about the weather in Vancouver?
I think we're back to normal. It's cloudy and raining.
Okay. Anybody else hear their own thinking about what the weather's like where they're at?
Well, I thought about the weather as soon as you said it. I was like, oh, it's a pretty nice day today here in Brussels. Finally.
I felt like I was listening to her, but at the same time thinking here in Houston, man, it's been 90 degrees all through October. But I was still also listening at the same time. But it did make me come to my own position or my own situation here.
Mm-hmm.
I was that Winnie Lee's lousy is what I like. I like the rain. I like the gloom. So she's calling it lousy, and I'm thinking, oh, I miss the lousy weather.
Love that. I love that. Yeah.
Similar.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say similar but opposite here, which is I'm so glad there's so much sun here in Spain. So, yeah.
Yeah, I had myself feeling the same thing. It's normal to be cloudy. I'm like, oh. Hey, you're a neighbor. You're a neighbor, Robbie. You're in New Jersey. It's a pretty nice day today, huh?
Oh my goodness. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Come on.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Skies are blue.
Yeah.
It's a good day. Yeah, later carpooling and traveling to Delaware, where it should hopefully still be nice there too, but I'm enjoying it.
Awesome. And it's interesting, if you ask somebody, bump into somebody on the road and ask them, hey, isn't it a beautiful day? And hear what they say. They'll probably say, yeah, but you know, it's going to be bad weather next week. It's really interesting, you know. Yeah, but you know what? You bet. One person said, finally, the weather that we've been looking for, but it's going to be bad weather tomorrow. It's interesting how we think, right? But this is the hardwire, is to start to see that you're having points of view rather than being those points of view. Just to see that you're having points of view completely changes the energy of it. This is about a year ago or 2 years ago, and my son called me up and he says, I'm really upset. And I said, why are you upset? He says, because I'm a violinist, I'm a musician, and this isn't supposed to happen. And I said, oh, I see, because you're coming from your point of view that that's who you are, rather than I'm in the possibility of generating music now and now and now. So you're causing yourself to suffer because of something that you've decided in the past. So as you start to see, oh, I'm having a point of view on the weather, I'm having a point of view on what Winnie Lee said about the weather, as you start to see that it's just point of view, it's not personal. You're now one of 8 billion plus points of view. And all those 8 billion plus points of view, they think they're right all the time. So you can start to separate yourself from it and just see. And this is part of the steps to be able to start to clear your stuff of all the stuff that's written on the chalkboard. Let's take it a little bit farther. Anybody have anything that they want to say on this subject?
So, did the politics prompt. My thought on it was like, oh, that's actually good advice. And then I was like, but I'm a woman, and then the identification with being a woman popped in, and all of that point of view.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what's so good, is it looks so good. Like, oh, I'm listening. But a lot of time, and that's where we're going to go right at the end of today's module, is when we agree, we think it's okay, but it's actually a little bit different than the agreement or disagreement. But there's still the thinking. It's a really good point. Thank you, April. Let's go to the next aspect of it, Ashok, of those. But before we do, I'd like to take it into a little bit more depth. And before we do that, let's go ahead and go to the breaths, Ashok. I think that the breath exercise is a really good go-to. It's so quick, just even you can even do it on the toilet. You can do it anywhere. People say, I don't have any time to do presence. Just to take a deep breath. Just get yourself present in the breath. Breathing in, feeling the air coming into your lungs, feeling when your lungs are full, taking a moment to just recognize that you're feeling that your lungs are full, and then breathing out, and then noticing when there's no air in your lungs, just for a moment before you take a breath in. Just get yourself in the space of getting present with your breath. Let's do a couple together, just a couple breaths. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. So now we've taken a little bit of space around our thinking. And let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Now, this is usually an exercise when we're in a room of people. So we're going to do this in the Zoom call. Now, what I like to do is I like to call on different people, and I like to ask you to listen to what they're saying. Listen to yourself listening to them, and watch when your agreements come in and your disagreements come in, and also see yourself thinking when you start to say, oh, I'm believing this. And even better, for extra credit, think about what you're going to say when I call upon you, right? Notice when you start to think, oh, I'm going to have to say this. What the energy of your listening becomes to what the person is actually saying by just being the listener yourself. Let's go ahead and talk to Jeff about the price of groceries in Brussels.
Price of groceries in Brussels and gas. I mean, I don't pay attention really. It's kind of interesting. I just look at the end, when I go to the grocery store and I pay for the groceries and I go, oh, that's how much it is. And then I kind of move on unless it's, I'm tight for cash that month, and then I have to pay attention and go, oh, do I really need this one or that one? But I don't have a particular point of view about, is it going up or going down too much like that, sort of same with gas. I mean,
okay, great.
It's a little bit, then my thoughts are, I could do better, because if I can just ignore the price of groceries and gas, maybe I should be thinking about other people and who have to pay attention.
Very good. Okay, that's good. That's meaty. That's a meaty one. Okay, good. So anybody notice as they were listening to Jeff and what he was saying, when you started to agree and disagree? Anybody? Raise your hand if you noticed. Okay. Okay, great. Sarah, when was the first thing that you agreed or disagreed? What was it when it popped in?
It was almost immediately. And I agreed throughout the whole conversation, but I was waiting for when he was going to bring in the component of gratitude to not have to worry about it. and how does it make you think about other people? So he brought it home. But like you said, it's easy when you agree.
Okay. Okay. Great. I love it. I love it. Annie?
Well, I guess being with him on the price, I own and operate a salad food truck. And so I just started thinking about a case of romaine used to be 30 and then it went up to $82. Prices of the salads, and I don't have to worry so much when I consume and buy groceries for myself, but as a business, I think about it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that. That's a great example. Now, I'm going to really go out on a limb with you guys right now. What did the energy feel like when you stepped into the agreement? Did it feel like, are you familiar with like an energy that you get when you agree or disagree? Could you feel any energy in that?
More of a connection with the person for sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
This part's difficult for me, Kevin. I to get the feel, to recognize I'm having a feeling about agreeing is, and I tried some of these things and we've talked about it before, and for me, it's a big struggle to feel.
So maybe we can make it a little bit more poignant. You should go to church, or you should send greeting cards, or you should be nicer to your mother. What does that feel like in your body, everybody? What does it feel like?
Restraining.
Do you feel the energy? Do you feel that?
Resistance.
Resistance. You feel the resistance?
Yeah.
Anybody feel confined? You should.
Yes.
Does anybody feel like there's no way I'm gonna...
when you say it, Kevin, I don't have such a big, but if my closest girlfriend said it to me, or my mom said it to me, yeah, I'd be constricted big time. I'd want to run away for sure.
Well, I have a 24-year-old daughter, 25-year-old daughter, and I noticed that should creates more. Okay, that's good. Now let's go. Anybody else in agreements? Let's just fill those agreements. Anybody else agreed? I saw you, April. You agreed. When did you agree or disagree?
Felt like I noticed myself laugh at his first sentence and like laugh in agreement of like, oh yeah. And then it was a back and forth agree and disagree. It was interesting to experience that. Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, good. Very good. Okay, Claudia?
I have to go before there's too much disagreement, Kevin. Are we going to
Yeah.
What is that?
I felt a restraining and a disagreement with everything you were saying.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I disagree.
Can you imagine what it would look like if we could listen to people without agreeing and disagreeing? What would that energy feel like?
I'm working on it.
Well, we're gonna create that. We're gonna create that possibility so that natural knowing increases, and we can create what it is that we choose to create, rather than create from things that we've made up.
But those words, when you say like, you should do this, you should do that, that wants me to do the opposite.
Yeah. I mean, who are you to tell me what I should or shouldn't? You shouldn't.
Okay, let's take it a little bit far. Let's take the sentence a little bit farther. How many of you had the experience when Jeff was talking that you were thinking, what am I going to say when he calls upon me?
Yes.
Okay. And did any of you, while Jeff was talking, did any of you get to the point where you knew what you were going to say if I called upon you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Ashok, what was it?
I think pretty early on, I was just, I guess, agreeing and feeling like grateful that, I also don't need to think about grocery prices at the moment. But I think the other part was, I guess I heard Jeff say something about, I don't know if I misheard you, but you said something about, I should be grateful that I don't need to think about this.
Yeah.
And the thought that came up was, you shouldn't have to feel anything. Or it's okay. It's okay. And actually I'm happy for you that you don't need to think about it. But yeah, those are the thoughts
Now I'm going to stretch you guys a little bit. I'm going to stretch you a little bit here. But did you notice when you made that decision that you became unconscious to what the person was saying? Did you notice once you sat in that decision that you could really not effectively listen to what the person was saying anymore? Anybody want to
actually just quickly there, like that's why I think I don't fully remember what he said at that moment, because that's probably when I decided fully what I was going to say.
The same thing happened with me. not to throw myself under the bus. As soon as I did that, it was like I was not effectively listening. April?
I had a thought that came in. It's like I was expecting a comparison of prices, and the thought was like, I'm not getting any information from this. Like, very interesting to have that, and then shutting that down. And then when you just asked, like, did you have a thought that prompted for us to come in now? I just noticed I stopped listening and I was remembering the thought.
Good. Very, very powerful. Very powerful. Anybody else that can share?
So for me, Kevin, not so much what Jeff said, but what you said, and you referred to the greeting card, and I know the story behind that. So I chuckled to myself, and I pretty much stopped listening at that point.
Okay. Yeah, you saw the
Yeah.
little YouTube we did. Go ahead.
Multiple stories going on here, but yeah, the grocery store, about comparing prices. I guess as soon as someone said about it, then I automatically just put my thoughts in, like, how is this affecting my life? I understand about prices. I just traveled to somewhere else recently, and I'm comparing prices. Then because I just shut that person's story off and was listening. Like, I'm just thinking about myself and how it affects me.
I could tell you about how the prices of cigarettes vary by country. Because we do go border crossing in order to get a better price on cigarettes.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. That's another whole story. Then where everybody's going to be thinking, well, you shouldn't be smoking, or are you a smoker? Right. It's really interesting, isn't it? All the thinking that comes in. So once we go into that decision, once we go into the decision of what we're going to say, most of you would agree that we become ineffective at listening then. Is there anybody that says, no, I was able to listen the whole time, it didn't affect me at all?
I was listening on a certain level, but I was also sticking a lot of my thoughts and a lot of my thoughts in it. Instead of clearing my mind, just focus on what was being said.
Okay.
And I'm working on that, but I want to add my thoughts to it.
Okay. Love it. So one deep breath. In that deep breath, could you feel a space of not having to agree or disagree?
Yeah.
Can you feel that?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good. Anybody else?
And it's like a relief even.
It's almost like a relief. Right?
Yeah.
Imagine being able to listen to a person without agreeing or disagreeing. Right? And I have to be honest with you, in the beginning, I had to do it through my head. I had to tell my head rather than I had to sit there while the person was saying something so stupid or something that I didn't agree with and say, it's not good, it's not good, it's not bad, it's not good, it's not bad, it's not good, it's not bad, it's not, because I was just so into my head. I didn't have the ability to just be like, you know what? It's a point of view. It's just a point of view. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it's not good and it's not bad. It's not good and it's not bad. So if we can access that breath, this is going to be very valuable. If a motor is running, right, and you put your hand into it and you cut your finger, is it personal? No, it's just a motor, right? It's just a motor, right? Now, we talked about this at the beginning of the course. We all have biases. And so what happens is we have a tendency to put our hand in other people's biases by agreeing and disagreeing. And once you go into agreeing and disagreeing, it's bad or good, you bring yourself into the energy that the person is generating. And then that energy affects you. I mean, if the person is coming from a very blissful state and you agree, you can actually be uplifted in it. But if a person is saying, you know what, hey, how are you? And you say, oh my gosh, like a really negative person, let's say. And as soon as you say, hey, how are you? You remind yourself that you never wanted to ask that person that question. You ever have that experience? And then as soon as you say, how are you? The person starts to tell you everything that is going wrong. Have you ever had that experience? Am I the only one?
Yes.
And until you agree or disagree, it doesn't really affect you. You can even feel love for the person. You can hear that the person is having things that are not working going on for them. But once you agree that it stinks, or once you agree that they're too negative or whatever, notice how it affects your energy.
This is probably why they tell you, Kevin, to surround yourself with happy people and not disgruntled people, because it wears on you.
It does.
But you know what? We have no control. We can't control anything. Everything's uncertain. That's where we're going to end with today's module, is really this uncertainty, and be able to reside in uncertainty and I don't know, and to be okay with it because it serves us in a more powerful space. So what would it look like to be able to be around a person that all of a sudden, or a situation that didn't go the way that you thought you wanted it to go, and rather than, oh my gosh, I tried to control this and it was supposed to be looking like this, to be able to say, wait a minute, I'm right here with this person, and this person is sharing right now thoughts that are not working for them about things, and I'm really listening to them. I'm really listening, but I'm not agreeing and disagreeing, and it's not bad and it's not good, and I'm really feeling love for them. I'm feeling that they're going through sadness or anxiety or whatever it is, but I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. And you can start with it in your head if you want to. If you want, you can start in your head by just it's not bad, it's not good, it's not bad, it's not good. But let's see if we can practice that. And if you can, if for extra credit, if you can take it as they're talking about something that you're agreeing or disagreeing, as you start to see that agreement or disagreement to come in, take a deep breath. See if you can just stay in the presence of who they are, which we're going to define later on, who they are and their energy without necessarily having to bring your energy into their energy. Are you with me? Anything that I need to elaborate on in this?
I like the word neutral in that situation, you know, just stay neutral.
Just staying neutral.
That, I mean, that takes, it sounds easy, but it takes a lot. I mean, especially if it's somebody, there's a difference between a friend and a really close friend.
That's right.
You know,
Hey,
there's a big difference between like a friend, like whatever, but if it's like a really close friend, it's like, you know, like, because your tongue is going to start bleeding after a while because
Yeah,
you're like, okay, you know, it's a thought, and it's like, but you really want to put your opinion into it. Yeah, I mean, you really want to put your opinion into it. But
This is
it's like
great.
it's like a okay, but if you don't put your opinion into it, sometimes the person gets more upset because you're just like, okay.
That's right. Okay, so there's two very powerful points that you brought up here, August, and thank you for sharing it. It's just so powerful when people share. I started by doing it on the airplane.
Okay.
I didn't start with my mom or my family or my close friends. I just started with that guy that had his elbow into my seat, or the guy that would put the newspaper and lean over in my seat and just sit there and just say, okay, I'm having thoughts on this guy. And they're thoughts that are telling me what a jerk he is, you know, versus, okay, look, I'm having a thought on this guy. I'm having a thought. It's not bad and it's not good. It's not bad and it's not good. I just started with like little things. So I'm not asking you to go straight to your mother-in-law or your wife or whatever, just to start to see, like with these people in the group that a lot of you never even met before, to stand in this ability to say, oh, wow, they're having a point of view. Allow them to have their point of view. It's not bad and it's not good. And to take a deep breath. And then the other one that you brought up, I think is really powerful, August, which is a lot of people, if you don't agree to their identity, you're against them. If you don't agree that it's sad, or if you don't agree that it's bad, then you know what? I don't want you in my world. But my experience is, you know what? It's something they can work out if they don't want you in their world, but you can be coming from a more powerful space that doesn't have to be agreeing to people and disagreeing, especially if it's not serving you.
Do you think people tell you stories like that because they feel like when they're done describing it, you're helping them carry some of that load, some of that burden is off of them?
Right. You know, and it's just the same thing as once my son got, hey, look, you're just having sadness right now, disappeared immediately. But most people have already decided who they consider themselves to be, which is basically a false sense of identity, which is, I am not fortunate. I don't have time. People don't love me. And they continue to come from that thinking, which we've been practicing all morning. They come from that thinking. And so this is a belief, or it's agreement, or it's a decision that they have. And we have all had that experience. You try to talk to a person that has decided that they're sad, and you try to say, hey, look, you can be happy. If they've already decided and they already believe it to be true, what they're asking is, hey, look, I believe I'm sad and you need to agree with me so that I can bolster up the decision that I made. Or you need to disagree with me so that I can continue to, you know, that I can say that you're not for who I've decided that I am, which is a sad person.
And that's the biases that you speak about, right?
These are the biases. But where we're going with this is when you can start to take that bias and you can start to look at it presently, right now. Oh, I'm having sadness. Oh, I'm having a feeling that, you know, one person said to me, I am my financial anxiety. And I said, well, how are you going to change that? You're not going to be able to change it because you're making it who you are. And how am I going to talk you out of it? I mean, I can tell you a whole bunch of stories telling you why it's costing you, but it will take a long time. But if I just sit with the person and say, oh, so you're your financial anxiety. So you're having a feeling of being your financial anxiety. So that's happening right now. What does it look like? Where is this appearing in your life right now? Not through the story. And if a person really gets present to what they're creating, now you have an opening to create something new. So we're practicing right now to elevate ourselves or to get ourselves more conscious to see where we're creating thinking and are agreeing and disagreeing from the past, which is affecting us. Like, you know, Robbie said, imposter syndrome. This is a huge one. So these thoughts that we have from the past are preventing us from creating what it is that we desire to create. You know, so many people say, I want this. And I'm like, you know what? Don't come from not having it. If you're coming from a half a cup, you multiply that by anything, you have less than you started with. Just come from a clearing of an energy, because we are energetic being, of I have it and I'm expressing it. So that person's really smart that I talked to. And as soon as he said, well, I got to get rid of my financial anxiety, he took it into the present moment and he realized, oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wait, I'm having financial anxiety. This is a completely different energy.
It allows you to separate yourself from it.
You're separating yourself from it. And now you have this natural knowing, you have this energy of the quanta of not putting a decision into it. So you have the energy of that whole quanta being created with you of what? Wellness, abundance, freedom, creativity. It all opens up when you're not sabotaging it by the agreements and decisions and beliefs that you've held on to. Yeah. Is this too complicated for everybody? No?
I'm just agreeing, Kevin.
Robbie, are you kind of thinking, what did I get myself into? I mean, this is our first conversation. I've never met you before.
No, I love this. No, yeah, I love this stuff. And there's other questions popping up that are maybe unrelated, so maybe I'll save them. But I appreciate it.
Okay, all right. I'm glad that we haven't that we're having a conversation that is working for us. So let's see if we can do that. Can we try this on? Let's see if we can right now have different people talk. And we'll wait for the people like Jeff. Now, this is just a decision that I made that are hard to agree with or disagree with. We'll wait for them to talk last.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm about done talking anyway, Kevin.
Okay,
I need to go to the pub, man.
Let's talk to people that are really, really lovable first. Annie, you start just by saying something, a couple sentences on something, 2 or 3 sentences.
The end of the world is coming.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
And I have no fear. How about that?
Okay. All right. Was anybody able to listen to that without saying I agree or disagree?
No, not exactly, but
I'm not saying I believe it. I'm just saying.
yeah. No, it's okay. I was like, yeah, I agree. But then I was like, okay, what's she gonna say next?
Okay. Very good. Very good. See how the agreement immediately has to come in? We got to immediately go into that agreement or disagreement.
So fast.
So fast, right? They say if you're with a person that's dying, hospice nurses, the real pros are able to just be there and not fix things. Just be there and just listen. Let's try somebody else. Say something, August, say 2 or 3 sentences on any matter.
It's really difficult to detach, any type of feelings.
Okay, great. All right. Anybody agree or disagree?
I agree. It feels like human nature trying to do that, doesn't it?
Is anybody able to go with me and just feeling like, oh, he's sharing a point of view and just see that it's just a point of view?
What's funny with this one was actually I couldn't quite hear August.
Oh.
And so but it's really interesting because I couldn't hear you, there's no agreement or disagreement that came in.
I couldn't hear him either.
Look at the power you have. Look at the power you have, August.
They already shut me off without saying anything.
Oh my gosh, you've so much present. Sarah, I can't see you. What do you got going on, Sarah?
Sorry, I let's see. Can you see me now? I'm putting a baby in the car, so I am really not as present as I should be.
What a beautiful baby.
Thank you. This is Lila. I'm having this experience where I can agree or disagree, but it doesn't correlate to good or bad for me. So like, I feel like I can have the thought about it without having the feeling about it.
That's right. That's perfect. That's perfect. And that's a great segue, because where does good and bad come from?
From within.
So April says, I don't usually watch TV, but I watched some TV today, and she was basically having a story about having turned on the TV. But where did the decision that TV is bad come from? Because she had decided the TV was no good. When you're really present and you turn on the TV, you can see how it feels, right? And you don't need to say, oh, I watched the TV and now I got a whole story going on that I messed up watching TV.
Well, I get sometimes guilt.
Guilt. Yep. Yeah.
Guilt.
And where does guilt come from? Agreeing or disagreeing, doesn't it?
Guilt comes from, guilt comes from the past. It's like you're wasting time that you could be doing something more productive than just to vegetate.
Yeah.
Once educated, like I'm also a recovering Catholic, so we're taught a lot of things, and we agree because we agreed back in the day. It's still with us.
That's right. That's right. And we're not really going to do this in today's module, but there's actually a practice which we're going to go into more, which is how we can start to disappear these things that we've agreed to. How we can disappear these things that we've agreed to just by bringing our presence into them. First off, one more though on agreements. Let's just, now that we're kind of getting in the knack of understanding this, let's see if we can do one more. Anybody else have a humdinger thought that they want to share with us?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I mean, just following the exercise, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say I feel like immigration is good for the country and they should allow open borders.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's a really good one to agreement or disagreement into, huh?
That's why I chose it.
Was anybody able to hear that just as a point of view without going into agreement or disagreement?
I got it. I did get it that time. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's a point of view.
I love it. I love it. And Ashok, you raised your hand?
I caught myself agreeing, but before I could fully, I just stayed listening. And then by the end, I was just like, I had no agreement or disagreement. And it just felt like energetically, I felt very light.
Love it. And one thing about Claudia is she's got this energy. She loves to help people, and she's kind of got this energy that just kind of brings brightness when she comes into a room. I think that the thing that's interesting here is if you can stay out of the agreement or disagreement with her, you still feel the energy of who she is. But as soon as you go into the agreement or disagreement with her, you miss the energy of where she's coming from.
You're no longer listening.
You're no longer listening because you're now into this, wait a minute. Now, wait a minute, I've already believed this, and now you're messing with who I consider myself to be, which is that line in the sand, that agreement, and that decision. April, you raised your hand, so go ahead. We'll do one more.
My statement was, I hate October because scary movies are on TV. And commercials.
Leave the TV off, girl.
Yeah.
Leave the TV off and don't throw yourself under the bus. But we're not listening to our thinking. We just heard your point of view and we're feeling it with you.
Yeah, I could feel, I was listening to her, but then I could slightly feel, wow, she hates October. But, I started almost getting there and then I was like, I just kept listening to her. So I guess based on what we know, what we feel, just start, I don't say judging, but make our own agreement or disagreements. But it's, yeah.
Very, very good. Very good. I love it. This is great. So you can now actually take this as a practice. That's my call to action with you all, is to get in conversations and and you don't need to start August with somebody you really love as a friend that can trigger you, but you can start with that person on the airplane. You can start with, somebody that's sitting at the pub that you don't even know, right? Well, you just start on those little things, or wherever you are, sitting at the park, whatever it is that you do, that you interact with people, to be able to listen to them. Oh, they're having points of view. And you know what? Watch what happens when you listen to a person. Watch what happens to them. That's what my call to action for you. Watch what happens to them when you really listen without agreeing or disagreeing. You allow them to be who they are. Two things will happen. One is they're going to get it, and watch how they get it. And the other thing is watch what it does for you and you being able to be who you are in your big sense, because you haven't agreed or disagreed. Two things left before we finish for today. One is the presence exercise. This is imperative, the presence exercise. You all have something that you do. You all mentioned something you were doing. We have this idea that, oh yeah, I've done exercise. I've done that before. And then that's a decision, right? Oh, I did that once. I know that it's important. And we go to our head with it. Our head is just a fragmentation. It's processing about 40 bits of information in any given second. Our subconscious, which is connected to the quanta, is receiving about 11 million bits of information in any given second. It's what Einstein and Kekulé and people are saying when they step into this creative state, it's the place where they have access to so much more and so many possibilities. I would say my wife is an artist, that they express most powerfully when they come from that expression of openness. So to expand your presence practice, I don't care what you're doing right now, see what you can do to expand it. You know, when you're about to put the food into your mouth, look at the food and feel what it feels like in your hand, and to taste it rather than to get eating out of the way. You know, as you start your walk in the morning, walk as slow as you can, just so that you can see that you're walking. Take some deep breaths, expand it, look at a candle, see what you can do to increase the moments of creating space around your thinking. I was in a call with Jeff yesterday. We do a presence call every Thursday. And one of the things that he shared in that presence call is how quickly his thoughts are just boom, 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 boom. And that's great. As you put more space around your thinking, as you put more space, you think it's counterintuitive. Your thinking becomes more effective because your thinking starts to serve you instead of enslaving you. So increasing the present moments. It's a spiritual training, or I don't want to use that word spiritual. It's a training. It's a nothing training. It's a quanta training. Okay, are we ready now? This is the grand finale. Any questions?
I just wanted to add after the last exercise, I've just felt a pretty big shift in like not agreeing or disagreeing with everything I'm hearing. And it's pretty incredible. Like I feel just this neutralness constantly. And yeah, it's amazing how light I feel and just complete neutralness. Like even the agreeing has some sort of energy with it, but when you get neutral, it's just this openness. So
Love it.
Really cool.
I wanted to share just real quickly. I realized I didn't do this. You know, the Intermagnet team. Winnie Lee is taking care of management of Intermagnet. She's there's Winnie Lee with her shirt with a little blue butterfly or something. I can't see background. And this is Winnie Lee, and Ashok is like my partner. We've been creating this together. He trusted me enough to start having these conversations. He's an engineer. And his hobby is being a DJ. He's just an incredible person. And we're creating this together. So a show constantly contributes to me being able to see things. And the one thing I wanted to emphasize is that I'm not a guru, and I don't want to be a guru. I'd like you guys to get the mastery that's inside of you and to start to ride in the mastery that's inside of you. And we're just in this journey of seeing what we can do to have more access of this great space inside of us, which is the segue to the last thing that we'll talk about. And if you'd open up the slide, we'll do a little bit of background on the distinction of what we are versus who we are. What we are, we've been looking at today. These are the things that we've already agreed to, that I know, our agreements and our decisions. And you can see, right, that what we don't know is so vast. And what we don't know that we don't know is so vast. Or what's uncertain is so vast, isn't it? You get the distinction here? Any questions on this? So that dot is our identities. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide, and we'll explain this in more detail. Next slide. So the dot, this is what you are. The dot, right, is your location, some point in time, your thoughts, feelings, either your images that you hold from what you've already decided. I'm gay or straight or black or white or Republican or Democrat. God forbid a Yankee fan. All these things that we've decided that we are, right? And it's not who we are, it's just what we are. What were we before we made these decisions? You know, Ashok is an engineer, a software engineer, but you're doing other things right now. So if you're not a software engineer, who are you? Right. So most people, when you say, who are you? They don't even know. They just describe, well, I'm a father. I have 2 kids. I'm 59 years old. And they go into all their explanations. So this is what we are. It's the impermanent. It's the lines in the sand. And it's changeable. It changes all the time. People says, I believe this. And the next time they believe something else, right? It's changeable. It's not fixed. And most human beings take most of their energy making these impermanent things permanent. But you'll see the people that are like, you know, and you don't have to like Elon Musk, but you see these people or Steve Jobs, you know, or you see people or Einstein. Einstein said, I didn't figure out the theory of relativity through thinking about it. I did it while I was playing my violin. So the who we are is like this pure no form. There's no location. Robbie explained when he said, when you think of somebody and they call you a minute later, you put it out there, you know what, it's going to take care of itself, and it takes care of things more powerfully than you could have even imagined. So who you are is, you know, it's really everywhere. It's nothing. It's not a single point. It's being able to feel the vibration of Claudia when she walks into the room, which is just this love for people. She's a nurse, by the way. She's a nurse, and one of her passions is to take care of people while they're passing away as a hospice nurse. And it just has this heart to be able to contribute to others and to be able to feel that without even having to hear any meaning. So it's something that we all can share together. I love, you love. I hurt, you hurt. And it's a place that happens in the present moment. A lot of people focus on lessons learned, who's wrong, who's right. And we go to a recollection of the past, which isn't even accurate, versus, hey, you know what's occurring for me right now is we need to have more communication, or we need to make sure that people are feeling heard. So this is kind of this wholeness of what you're feeling from your experience. When you go out to your car to put the key in, you don't have to think, oh, how do you do it? It just comes from your experience that you put it in. If it's raining, you don't have to think, oh man, this really stinks. It wasn't supposed to be raining. You just open your umbrella. So this wholeness, which is beyond right and wrong, to be able to start to have more access to this. And it's a space where you step into a clearing, like Ashok talked about in the beginning, where the chalkboard starts to become clear, where you can start to create new, and the universe works for you. I had one person that I reminded of this the other day. His daughter hadn't talked to him for a long time. And he was hurt because he really loves his daughter. He's a good father. And he was kind of like, why isn't she calling me? And this is hurting my feelings. And I said, you know what, let's just see if we can take all the meaning out of it and all the agreement and disagreement out of it. Let's just take some breaths, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And then the guy called me up or texted me a couple hours later and said, you're not going to believe this. My daughter just texted me. And then the next day they were in a conversation. As you play this connection that we are with everything, and you allow this wholeness of everything to come in, it's very effective in creating what it is that you desire to create. And also through your words, like I'd love to have a conversation with you, Robbie, sometime also on this. It's just a side conversation. But, you know, a lot of people come from their past and what they're creating. Like I am, you know, I did this in the past, or I said to you, Claudia, I'm going to be a nurse. No, you've already graduated. You are a nurse. When you come from, it's already occurring and it's happening right now. It's different than when you give reference to where you were in the past. You know, Robbie, you're already, because your profile's up there, anybody can see it on our private community. You're already creating being a composer right now. It's happening right now. And why make it tomorrow? And stand in the vibration of it's happening right now, because then when you get there, you'll like it. If you're not there yet, when you get there, you still feel like something's missing. Like my son, when he got the audition, when he won the audition for the orchestra, he'd get up early in the morning because he's not an early morning person, just to feel what it felt like to be open and awake at that time. And he'd walk to the audition hall every day, and then he'd feel like what the music felt like coming out of his body before he even got there. So that when he was there, it just came naturally. So to get this who you are versus what you are is extremely powerful. I'd like to end with the last 10 minutes of just two things, two requests from you is just share what you got. Maybe we could just go through and everybody just kind of share what you might have gotten out of it today, which will help me and help Ashok and our team to be able to make more impact with others. And if you can also share if something came up with you in some experience of how we could be able to communicate this more clearly so that we can make more impact and people being free from the walls of their thinking, share that with us also. Is that okay with everybody? Anybody have any questions? Are we complete?
It's good. Okay, it's great. It's definitely helpful. You know, I did have an experience yesterday. I'll just share with the group because it's kind of interesting to me because in a way, it looks like miracles happen, you know, a little bit. So we had the presence call yesterday, and literally right after the presence call, some old colleague called me and asked me if I'd be interested in doing a side consulting job, which is something that I will consider because I have some situations where a side consulting job and having some money to do some things that need to be done would be great. But to have it happen, you know, it just happened like literally a few minutes after we ended the presence call. And for me, it's like that whole quantum idea and like everything is there. It's like miraculous in a way. And I don't know how it works at all, you know, I don't want to get into trying to figure out how to make this work, you know, kind of thing. But yeah, I really get that the space of presence has a lot of power.
Go next, Sarah. Are you available?
I'm sideways and driving, but yes, I'm available. I echo the sentiments around the presentation and approach today was great. It was a real good sense of community and really exciting to hear other people's perspectives. I find myself kind of settled into this last section, the what versus the who, and, kind of struggling and, well, not struggling necessarily, but curious to develop my understanding of the distinction. The what is crisp, the who is, I don't know.
And that's exactly what we're creating, because now there's unlimited, because you're not in the dot, because you don't know. Anything can open up, and you can still generate in that. It's very powerful. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Richard.
Oh, yes. So I know for me, I haven't personally experienced too much of those small miracles that Jeff was referring to, but I know through Annie, she shares with me during the course of the day. And oftentimes, like, she had some appliance issues and the repairman was kind of dumbfounded and couldn't solve the problem. And she got in her car and just was talking to herself. It's not good. It's not bad. I don't know. I don't know. And then he approached her and said, I think I've talked to my boss. I think we figured out what the problem was, and it was a fairly simple solution. Other situations where she's thinking about customers she hasn't seen in a while, and within the next day or two, they show up. Just stuff like that. It just shows you how powerful it is, and just the idea of all this energy around us and how it can help us solve our problems better than our little brains and our biases can. And just making the space to allow that to happen is so important.
Yeah,
Who's next?
all this talk is really, really powerful for me, because I feel like one of the biggest things I struggle with is overthinking. So it's nice to consider developing techniques to kind of just release expectations and kind of release judgment on certain things, whether that be people's opinions or what it means for people saying certain things. And I love your idea about, like you said, talking to someone on the airplane and trying to get in the gist of what you're saying that way. And like, I wonder if you had like 3 questions I could hit for today, because today I'm like playing a show in a different state, so I could do the random things, and I could be like, where are you from? What do you do? Blah blah blah. Like, there are certain type of questions I can use to kind of practice this non-judgment thing as I meet new people.
I think you should just ask everybody, who are you?
Yeah.
Every new person you encounter, who are you?
Okay. And don't judge them if they say, well, I'm married and I have 2 kids. Don't agree or disagree, and just allow them to be in who they think they are. That's a good one. That's a really good one. I love that. Very good, Sarah.
And Sarah, don't forget to ask yourself the same question.
That's right. Every day.
Okay. And then in the decision, right, for yourself, Robbie, is stay in the I don't know, just that or a deep breath, so that it makes it easier for you. What are some other questions that you can ask people?
What are you passionate about?
What are you passionate about?
Where can I buy a pack of cigarettes? Where's the next bar? The best bar?
Another one is, I find a good one is, what are you creating in your life? That brings them into the present moment. Sometimes I'll say, I did a post on this on one of the things that I do posts on, and it's like when they share something, bring them into the present moment. So they share something and then say, oh, that's a good point of view. That's a really, really good point of view. Emphasize it. And then all of a sudden they're able to see themselves having points of view. All right, let's go on. Anybody else? Thanks, Robbie. Thank you.
I really loved actually what you said after I asked about I said my statement about immigration. And that, I think it was so beautiful because it just clicked like it was an eureka moment. When you said to focus on the person's energy and where they come from, not on your judgment or your agreement or disagreement. And if people would just focus on that, and that brings you actually to presence, and it really just clicked with me. And I'm like, a lot of people come to us or say things because of their background and they're passionate about, for example, me helping people. But then as soon as I mention immigration, people usually tend to start having those question marks because they're like, oh, I'm anti-immigration or I'm this. But instead of actually seeing my energy that I want to help everybody. So I think if we focus on people's energy, that was so beautiful to focus on people's energy. That brought so much presence to me. And I was like, wow, I'm going to really try to focus on people's energy and where they're really coming from instead of the agreement and disagreement that, oh, I'm an anti this or I'm a Republican or I'm this, and just focus on their energy. And I think that was so beautiful, Kevin.
Awesome. Thank you.
So this has been very helpful. So thank you.
Okay, great. April.
What really became clear to me today is that I did not know that neutrality was an option. Also, the idea that making friends with people, you have to agree with them. And I've had at least 3 experiences lately where it's a person's opinion, or I'm in a place of agreement or disagreement with someone, and vice versa. And what I remembered from my personal experience, feeling someone was disagreeing with me about my personal experience, is feeling judgment. and like not being heard and like feeling like retreating from that person because it's like they don't understand. And taking a look at perhaps how I do the impacts that I have when I disagree or agree with someone, what that has on someone else. And when I do that, that isn't actually like connection because everybody just wants to feel heard.
I love it.
Yeah, no, sorry to jump in, but you know, it makes me think, because I was thinking this before on that last chart, you know, you heard, you heard, I heard, I love, you love. That's, and what April just said, for me, it kind of clicked into like, well, that's a really good access to compassion. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it.
Richard had his hand up.
Go ahead, Richard.
I just wanted to share, Kevin. We, Annie and I went to a grocery store, and there was a young checker, and she asked us, "What are we grateful for today?" And that was kind of a profound thing for a checker to ask. So that would be a good question to ask people.
Yeah, I love it. Annie?
I think I've been so focused on the presence, being present. I'm the whole bias thing, and you're not, being neutral about what someone says, not agreeing because you want to, connect with them, but really being, neutral, and just think about that part of this whole thing that we're working on.
Love it. I love it. Ashok, my dear friend, Ashok and partner.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this practice for some time, but it's just the more you do it, just more deeper and deeper you go. And today, to really feel that neutrality near the end of this, where I just started to like Kevin, often when you're talking, I'm like constantly in agreement because we're doing this. But even by the end, I wasn't agreeing with you anymore. I was just neutrally hearing your words. And the shift I felt was like very noticeable. It's subtle. It's hard to explain it. It seems subtle, but it's actually very powerful. And so that was very cool. And it just, I guess I feel excited to just deepen the practice, because it's a practice, because it's a practice.
I love it. I love it. And Winnie Lee, I think it went August.
It's a lot to take in and process. And so I'm working on it.
All right. Well, we're in it with you. We're creating it with you, August.
Thank you,
Richard.
So I thought it was interesting, as Achok was speaking and explaining himself, I caught myself shaking my head up and down, and I saw a few of the others doing the same thing. Obviously, we're agreeing with them, and we're not being neutral at that moment, right?
This is a real good point. I don't want any of you getting stuck in another agreement that we don't agree and disagree. Just try it on. Be normal. My gosh, let's not create another cult. There's too many strong points of view. Just try on not agreeing sometimes with that guy sitting next to you on the airplane. And if you're going to say, "Oh, I can't agree and disagree with you," it might not be really good for your marriage or friendships. And we're just creating the possibility of coming from another space a little bit more in our lives.
Don't forget that guy in front of you with the reclining seat back.
Winnie Lee, do you have anything you want to share about anything?
I think today I got more of a distinction about some of what you're teaching us about agree, not agree, and about being the space. So I think I'm starting to see a little bit more of how it's like, oh, okay, in my personal situation, how I will get into trouble or I'm constantly putting my hand in other people's motor.
Get it. I get it.
What I find with presence, it's like I know sometimes I can't get there. I went on my walk one day this week, and my heart's racing, and I was just wound up, and okay, get present. I couldn't do it. Other days I get there, and I tell you, it's just such a feeling of knowingness and lightness. It's just such a different vibration in myself when I am present. It's just a beautiful feeling.
And when you're in that feeling of, I know, like Ashoka's had so much, we've had so much experiences. So you're right. You won't get there.
I get to work and I tell my employees.
You already know you won't get there. That's
Yeah.
when you take some breaths and when you're in there, I can't get there right now. You can't get there right now because you're creating it. But you can.
But it so much. It's like it's tangible. It's not even a feeling. Like you can feel it literally. So if I go to,
you just want to take it like something that you can immediately go to. You can just like Robbie said with the breath. You just immediately can say, wait a minute. Go into the nothing rather than I'm going to try to do it in my little pea brain, my little monkey brain.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, Tell your friends. We want to impact people's lives. We want to impact people's lives. And I think it's going to make a big difference. Have them join school. It's a free community. There's nothing that they can lose. You know, they can just go off if they don't like it. We're just having present conversations. And of course we have more, we have courses that we give, but I'm going to give for people that are saving money and stuff. I'm going to basically be giving even some of the protocols and the things like that we can do to really disappear thinking. And I'm just committed to you guys having more presence, because then you're going to be the ones that spread this. And ultimately by doing this, people get more happy. It's going to expand our community also. What's the saying? The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And that's because of relationships. And if you're not in relationship, you're just selling stuff. And, you know, one time I was doing a Zoom call and somebody didn't show up, and I said to the person in charge of the program, where's this person? And the person said, well, she didn't want to show up because she doesn't like you. And I was like, I wanted to defend myself. I didn't agree or disagree, but I was able to start doing this practice. And I was just like, oh, okay, allow her to have her point of view. It's not bad and it's not good. And you know what happened? All the people in the Zoom call started saying, well, why would she have a problem with you? And they started to defend me. You know, we don't have to defend ourselves. There's an energy that we all share with each other that is so powerful. And as we step into it, we can start to express from that individualized expression inside of us, and we can make it happen.
Yeah, and it's so much more powerful when other people appreciate you and defend you as opposed to yourself doing it.
When they agree and disagree for you. I really appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks,
And
Joe.
text me any advice on the side.
Thank you.
You can do to contribute to me. Thank you.